Green flag in the air, and we are racing here at Road America. Jones will clear them, Michael Young, as they make their way down to turn number 1.
All I see is Ed Jones and Rooster Tails everywhere as we see Zach Beach tucked to the inside. He'll make it to P2. Santi and Arrutia will go to the outside. Very, very slick as they go down to the second turn of this event, but a good start for Ed Jones.
So it's Jones, Beach, and here comes Beach. He'll take a look to the inside, has to jump on the brakes to avoid hitting that Carlin machine. Beach's car gets sideways. That opens up the outside for Santi Arrutia. So Mark Janes, the battle is on for second down into turn number 5.
I think Zach's going to win that battle for second. He got back into the throttle in a hurry. Your leader, Ed Jones, gets to turn number 1 first. Climbs on the blinders, and again, Beach secures that second spot. The 27 of Stoneman. He wants the 3rd spot, but he's going to fall all the way to 5th now as they clear the Corvette Bridge.
Scott Hargrove, a lot of guys sliding around here on this opening lap.
Yeah, definitely, and I'm surprised that everyone seems to be keeping it in line, but Zach definitely had a big moment, and that's one of these the thing you have to work on with these turbocharged Mazda engines is they deliver a lot of torque, and you have to be ready for it, so it makes it pretty difficult.
Battle for 4th is a good one. Felix Sorales took a look to the outside of Dean Stoneman, couldn't make it work as the field sets up for the carousel, and I'll tell you what, battle for the lead not going away either as Ed Jones tiptoes through the carousel. Zach Beach all over that rear wing. They'll make their way down the long back straightaway, the Kettle Bottom straightaway, and make their way for Canada Corner. Field starting to separate and spread out just a bit to go single file. But boy, what a wild opening lap. The good news is, haven't seen a lot of carbon fiber flying as most of these drivers have done a good job of taking care of each other. Again, it's Jones, Beach, and it appears Jake Query, Andre Negrau has moved into the 3rd position.
Grau, of course, started in the 4th spot. Beach has about a 5-car length disadvantage, and Rooster Tails coming at him as Jones works his way into 14. Beach tries to close it, then it's Negrau, Stoneman, Sorales, and then Urrutia. A little bit further back, you wait just a little bit, Kyle Kaiser, but he's got Clayman DeMello right there on him trying to make a move.
Field will cross the start-finish line for the first time to complete lap number 1. Let's go back to pit lane and check in with Rob Howden.
Nick, you mentioned how the fact that these drivers really kind of be respectful on the opening lap here. Well, they had a drivers meeting with Tony Compton this morning, the race director, and he read them the riot act after the issues we had yesterday. We've had a lot of aggressive driving throughout the first half of this year. A couple of 5-second penalties yesterday. He actually read the guys the riot act and said, listen, I want some respectful racing out of you guys. You guys got to do it correctly. And I think they obviously listened as we've had a couple of good laps here to begin this race.
Ed Jones clears the Sargento Bridge. Mark Janes, Zach Beach, about 4 to 5 car lengths as they set up for turn 5.
Almost looks like it's raining again with the Rooster Tails coming off. Front 4 starting to separate themselves a little bit. The 27 of Dean Stoneman has settled into that 4th spot. We see a little bit further back, the 55 of Urrutia. He lost a few spots on the start. He has fallen back in the field a little bit, and he's trying to just maintain momentum as they head towards the turn 7-8 complex.
Dean Stoneman has cleared Andre Negrau to move back into the 3rd position. Further back, seeing some great battles between a pair of the rookies. James French sliding that car over the racetrack as he's running in the 10th position. Scott Hargrove, our driver analyst, and Rob Howden talked about those driver meetings. You've been in plenty of them. I know as a driver, when you lower that visor, it's a little bit different from what Tony Cottman and Race Control tell you, but as a driver, do you like having that the backup from Race Control to say, hey, you guys got to mind your P's and Q's during these races?
Yeah, and you know, once you get the helmet on, like you said, you definitely have a little bit of you know, the adrenaline starts going and you kind of forget what they said in the drivers meeting. But then if of course, if a driver kind of starts stepping those boundaries, then you have that back to rely on. And your teams also do a really good job of helping you out. If you have an issue, you can radio to the team, and then they'll, you know, get on the radio with their driver and tell them to kind of keep it in line and race properly. But there's like we mentioned earlier, this year has been very interesting. So I'm sure everyone's just keeping it calm because the track is wet and nobody wants to make mistake. But as it starts to dry out, I think we'll be seeing some aggressive moves.
Seeing some of the Team Pelfrey cars making their way through turn number 14. Garrett Grist went a little bit wide. Michael Young, nice lead though for Ed Jones into turn number 1.
And indeed, and Zach Veach will take a look to the inside, back in, steps out just a little bit on Veach as he hits the binders. Ed Jones in the lead, then it's Veach, Stoneman, then the DeGraw machine, Kyle Kaiser, then running in the 5th position. Actually checked that machine that went by, that was the Santia Rutia machine. So the field makes their way through, starting to see that rain dissipate a little bit. Those Rooster Tails, although they're still there, not as bad as they were at the start of this event.
Rear end of that car for Zach Veach, kicked out just a bit at the exit of turn number 3. Mark Janes, he had a good run heading down the Moraine Sweep straightaway. Not close enough though there to get to turn number 5.
Now Zach Veach, I think right now running race pace, if you will, as we see the 17 of Negrao starting to work on that battle for third. He has a pretty comfortable advantage over that third place car. He sees Jones is within striking distance, and so he may, Nick, want to minimize damage from being a little too aggressive, for instance, at the Freedom 100, overdriving the race car, realizing it's a long haul to the championship, and he has a chance to get back in it now that the guys in front of him have struggled a little bit.
Scott, that rookie James French has got his hands full there towards the back of the field with those Team Pelfrey cars, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's doing well, though. He's battling with those guys. I think Juan just got back around him there, but he did make a pass on Juan. And I know, I'm sure, you know, they want to show well. I don't know. He's not going to be in for the rest of the season, so he just wants to have a good showing this weekend, and then I'm sure he's planning to come back for more either later this year or next year.
Yeah, Pedro Hida got around him for the 9th position, so move French back to 10th. Garrett Grist right behind him in 11th. Up front, Ed Jones clears Canada corner. He'll race up the hill. I'll tell you what, Jake Query, Ed Jones has been smooth here through 2.5 laps, but not really able to pull away from Zach Veach.
Veach actually looked like he was closing in just a little bit. Now, as Mark had mentioned, seems comfortable. Maybe 4 car lengths back to Jones. Distance the same as last time by. Then Stoneman. Then you wait just a little bit, and before you know it, Andre Negrao comes into view. Those front 4 starting to separate just a little bit. Good battle at the back of the track. Kaiser trying to make a move and get a position back on Clayman DeMello. Clayman DeMello had gotten by him last time by. Kaiser trying to make the move, can't make it up out of turn 14.
Scott, seeing a lot of drivers when they move down the front straightaway search for lines. Is that more just to try to get those Rooster Tails out of your vision?
Yeah, the one thing when you're following a car in these conditions is you can't see a thing. You see there's the back of the cars, they all have those red lights. You kind of look at that red light because you can see it through the mist, and that's sort of how you judge the distance to the car in front of you, especially once you start getting pretty close. It just that rain gets in the visor, and you start using your glove to wipe off your visor, and it's not easy whatsoever. So anytime you have the opportunity, you kind of want to duck out from behind another car just so you can see where you're going again and then get back in position for the corners.
Mark Janes towards the back of that pack. Juan Pedro Hita, Shelby Blackstock, and the rookie James French just slugging it out towards the rear of the field.
Yeah, they're coming this way right now. Shelby Blackstock is trying to pick his way through that carnage, if you will. You can check the number 2 machine of Juan Pedrejita off the list for Shelby Blackstock. The French in that 45 machine has now slipped to the back of that field. All kinds of issues for Neil Alberico. The 22 machine, the last one through here, he went through this corner so very, very gingerly. I don't think he's happy at all with the handling of that race car.
Yeah, that's a tough break. It's been a rough season, a rough rookie year for Neil Alberico. Further up front, Kyle Kaiser looking pretty racy, Scott, as he gets around his teammate Zachary Clayman DeMello for 7th.
Yeah, I just kind of showed him the nose on the inside, and it looks like Zach gave him some room, so job done. He's focused on the car ahead, and it looks like he's got a little bit of clear track, so I imagine he'll be putting in some quick laps here.
So Kaiser looking pretty quick early, still has a lot of ground to make up, though. That pass again only moved him up into the 7th position. 3 laps in the books. Ed Jones is your leader. Zach Veach runs 2nd. Dean Stoneman 3rd. Andre Negrao 4th. And Santi Urrutia runs 5th as the leaders head to Jake Query.
Jones has Veach right there with him. Now, each time they enter this turn 14 area, long sweeping right-hander, the first few circuits, those Rooster Tails, that's that water spray on the rear of the car, was really, really noticeable heading into 14. But already now this track is starting to dry itself out, and it's not as noticeable as it was the last time by. Just a bit of a mist as they enter 14. Nick, I don't know whether or not that means that it is imminent that they will eventually go to a drier tire, but right now everybody's still kind of tiptoeing their way through. As a matter of fact, Neil Albarico almost looked like he had a problem out of turn 14, but now gets acceleration up the hill.
I'll tell you what, again, Michael Young, the battle at the back of the pack, pretty good there into turn number 1.
Pendrahita down low, French to the outside. French will make the move around Juan Pendrahita. A nice move as James French pulled a little bit later into that turn, did a nice job. So move French up one position as he makes his way around that number 2 machine.
All right, Scott Harger, we've been paying attention to these track conditions. As it appears, Mark James, we've got problems at the bottom of the hill.
The number 5 of Zach Veach probably got back into the throttle a little too quickly, and he spun it around. He's going to lose several positions, so he was solidly in that second position, and Nick, he may drop all the way to 6th.
Boy, he gets back on the accelerator and starts to gear back up, getting a chance to look at a replay. Scott, we didn't get to see the initial start of that spin by Zach Veach, but certainly that's a tough break to lose the second position.
It is, and Zach look at there, he's sideways again earlier on. He is pushing that car to the limit, and I know he's hungry for more wins. And as we saw earlier, the rear stepped out. Even on the first lap, it got pretty sideways. So that's just that when that turbo hits, you have to be pointed in the right direction. Otherwise, the rear will step out, especially in these tricky conditions.
And to be fair, we were talking about it before we went on the air. Zach was sideways yesterday on a dry racetrack, so this can't be very easy.
No, he doesn't seem to be too worried about that. And unfortunately, it didn't quite work out that time, but I'm sure he can put his head down.
So Jake Query, that'll move Dean Stoneman up to the second position, and all of a sudden, the second, third, and fourth looking pretty tight.
And I'll tell you what, Jones has a huge gap. Then you wait, it's Stoneman. To your point, the third place car of Negral's got a lot of activity from Felix Sorrells. Urrutia trying to keep those front 4 within his view.
All right, Mark Janes, you're down in turn number 5 where that accident happened with Zach Veach.
Well, if we go back and revisit yesterday, Nick, the car got loose several times late in the run. Zach's win over the last 5 laps or so. And Scott will ask you to explain this. Zach said that was a byproduct of them setting the car up to be very, very free. They reminded him of that, and Jake Query.
Kellett just went right off of the course in turn number 14. That's that 28 machine of Dalton Kellett. He landed right here in the sand trap, and unfortunately, he's got those rear wheels spinning. The car's not moving for the second straight day, Nick. A full course caution comes out, and it comes out because of an incident involving Dalton Kellett, who is okay, but that car's not moving.
Yeah, that car is absolutely buried in the gravel trap there, and as Jake talked about, rear wheel spinning. Got a lot of sand up there on the under tray. I don't think he's going anywhere, so we're going to go to a full course caution. Let's tidy up Mark Janes' point and what he was talking about. Zach Veach's car set up to be awful free yesterday.
Yeah, and that's I've heard that a lot around the paddock this weekend, and it makes the rear step out when you have a free car, and it's all about having a good front end. It sounds like if you have understeer where the front of the car doesn't quite turn through at the long corners, it scrubs a lot of speed, and your lap time goes away. So the guys that are running at the front are all saying, well, their car's a handful, but that like I said, makes it quick around this place.
How hopeless of a feeling is that right now for Dalton Kellett, knowing that you're not going anywhere without any help?
Yeah, that's pretty brutal, and especially because the car is probably fine. It just needs to be towed out of that gravel trap. So hopefully they'll get him back out without losing too much time.
Been a rough weekend for Dalton Kellett. Had mechanical issues prevent him from practicing on Friday. Finished dead last 14th yesterday after a spin in Canada Corner, and now he ends up in the gravel trap. The Homatro safety crew is there. That accident again happened right in front of Jake Query in turn 14. Was not a serious accident, just drove it into the gravel pit. He is okay, still in that race car, and we'll be asking the Homatro safety crew to pull him out so he can return to action. But again, full course caution with 5 laps in the book. Ed Jones is your leader. Back to pit lane and Rob Howden.
Yeah, Nick Yeoman talking to the guys down in the Belardi camp here, talking to Kent Boyer, the race engineer for Zach Veach, and they were starting to close on Ed Jones, and they were saying, just go after him, keep up, keep the pressure up, and that's what happens. Obviously pushing very hard coming out of turn number 5, just got up on that rumble a little bit, and when you get on the paint, when it's wet, you know that car is going to lose a lot of that grip. And he went around, tough one for Zach Veach, but this yellow comes out very nicely for him. It'll give him a chance to get himself back up in to the top 3. Dave first.
As you might imagine with this full course caution now, a little bit of a debate along pit road, and especially in Andretti Autosport garage, or pit area, I should say, about whether or not to come in and throw on some slicks. And Dean Stoneman got on the radio and says, guys, it's just still way too wet to make that decision yet. So don't expect anybody to come in in right now. But tell you what, if this race goes on a little bit further, we get another full course caution, that debate is going to get all the more hot and heavy. Rob?
Standing down here right now with Aaron Telitz. Got a little bit of a chance to chat with him. We're on the yellow flag. Aaron Telitz, you were up in the IndyCar radio booth with the guys yesterday, but congratulations on 2 race wins in Pro Mazda. You got to be thrilled with the way things happen here at Road America for you. Hometown boy, Wisconsin kid.
Yeah, no, definitely awesome to win here in my home state. It was a lot of fun being up in the booth yesterday. Tony and I and Nick, we were having a great time. I think racing was a little bit more fun. But to bring home both wins yesterday, that was just incredible in front of all my friends and family.
And congratulations, well done.
Thank you very much.
Folks, you did a great job on the racetrack, and you did a great job up in the booth as well. Aaron Telitz, double winner here this weekend in Pro Mazda.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Talented young man, has a bright future ahead of him. Jake Query, did they fish Dalton Kellett out of the gravel trap there in 14?
Good news and bad news if you're Dalton Kellett. They did indeed do exactly that. He's got, it appears, about 2 bags worth of kitty litter on either side pod of his car. But here's the thing, when the Hamacho safety crew got there, got him fished out and started to pull him out, just as they were getting him to the position where he could return to the racetrack, the field came around behind the pace car, so he did not get the opportunity. Had he gotten out just in front of that, he could have joined in the back of the field and still been on the lead lap. But they did work their way past before he could assimilate back in with the field. So Dalton Kellett does lose a lap as a result of that incident and that driving off through turn 14.
Tough break for the Andretti Autosport drive for Scott Hargrove. You heard Rob Howden and Dave First talking about it. We didn't see any takers on pit lane. Dean Stoneman said it's just too wet. Is this a situation where how much trust do the teams have to put in the drivers, because they're in the cockpit, they know just exactly how wet the racetrack is?
Yeah, as a team, you can't tell whether the track is dry in the corners or at different parts in the circuit, and at different parts of this track will dry at different times. So the drivers know best, but it would have been interesting to see if someone had done it, because you're going to save a lot of time versus pitting under green. So you know, unless there's another yellow, I don't really see it being able to make up the time from a pit stop under green flag conditions.
Back to pit lane and Dave First.
An opportunity to catch up here with Michael Andretti. This is kind of fun. We don't usually have this debate in Indy Lights. Come in for slicks or stay out on wets. How much fun is this for you?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, really, for sure. You know, it's I think we were just a couple laps too early with this yellow. Otherwise, I think it'd be quite interesting to see who, you know, would put on dries and still stay on wets. And right now, it's still too wet.
If you're out front, you really got to stay out, don't you, at this point?
Right now, I think everybody does. I think it's still too wet, but I think if the lap times drop another 5 seconds or so, then you're going to see some guys looking at it, you know, the yellow comes out.
Tell me a little bit about Dean Stoneman and his development this year as the season has gone along. How happy are you with that?
He's doing a great job. We knew we had a really good driver when we, you know, signed him up, and you know, it took a little bit of learning, I think, because, you know, we started late, didn't have much testing, but every race you can see he's just getting stronger and stronger.
The rest of the team, how much fun is this for you to be a part of the Indy Lights series? I know you dabbled in it before. You're full bore in it, obviously, this year. How much fun is this for you? It's obviously a developmental series, so the goal for all these guys is to make it to the Verizon IndyCar series at some point.
Yeah, for sure. It's an important series, I believe, for IndyCar. And, you know, I think not only are you developing drivers, but you're also developing engineers and mechanics as well. So it's great training ground for all that, and you know, I truly believe in it.
It's up and down the board. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, Michael Andretti. Yeah, debate goes on. Tell you what, if there's another full course caution, things could get really interesting down here on pit lane.
So we will go back to green here with 14 to go. The top 5, Ed Jones, Dean Stoneman, Andre Negrao, Felix Sorrells, and Santi Urrutia. Zach Beach, due to that spin, has been kicked back to 6th. But the good news, single file restart will bunch everything up. Ed Jones hard on the accelerator out of turn number 14 as we are back to racing, Michael Young, here at Road America.
And Ed Jones crests the hill, makes his way down into turn number 1. The first taker on the outside as Andre Negrao. He'll look to the inside of Stoneman, unable to make a pass. That's the battle for second place. Then it's Sorrells in 4th. Further back, it is Santiago Urrutia. So nothing changes in field clean through turn number 1. They now go over to Prix and Stratton Tunnel, make their way down to turn number 3.
Boy, the battle for the lead is on, Mark James. Dean Stoneman took a look to the outside in turn number 3. They're going to go side by side, headed to you in turn number 5.
Drag race underneath the Sargento Bridge. We'll see who gets here first. They'll make their way down that long straightaway. To the inside goes Ed Jones. Jones. He'll force the 27 machine of Stoneman to the high side. Cars gather up. Zach Beach wants to go side by side. Oh, he gets ran off into the grass. The battle for the lead continues, Nick, into turn number 7.
They're 2 by 2 to the front 6. Jones gets sideways. He clips the growl. He stalls the car, and Felix Sorales nearly goes up over the top of his teammate. Front wing completely ripped off of Sorales' car, and Jones has some very severe rear wing damage, and we have a full course caution. Boy, Scott Hargrove, he had 6 cars. You can throw a blanket over them. They're in turn number 6, and it just appeared they all ran out of racetrack.
Yeah, what I tell you, when the race started, everybody was taking it easy, but now it's drawing out a little more. You can feel a little bit more, and people know what to expect. And we saw there on the race, on the restart, some really, really aggressive driving. Jones pushed, it looked like Dean off into the grass, and Dean wasn't going to let it go. And then into the next corner, just got a little wide and had to check up, and his teammate ran into the back of him.
Seeing a replay, they went side by side for first, side by side for third, and boy, Scott, it looks like Sorales just got on the gas really soon and got right to the back of it.
Yeah,
Jones.
yeah, that's what put Jones sideways, was his teammate into the back of him, and then of course after he slowed down, got another hit here once the car straightened up and went up and over onto the back wing. So that's yeah, that's not good for either car. Those wings are not very cheap. So that's a pretty pricey crash there.
So this appears to be a 3-car accident, and Jake, a couple of those cars crab walk in there in front of you in turn 14.
Okay, so we've got Stoneman in the very front of the field, Negrao just behind him, then Beach and Sorales, Urrutia, and then you've got that Kaiser and Clayman DeMello duo. So the field now works their way behind the pace car, and I think it's Sorales, Nick, that's going to go ahead and move on to pit road, lose position on track. But I take that back. Sorales just now limping through, so he actually had fallen to the back of the pack. I was wrong there at the beginning, but he is working his way to pit road. It is Jones who is as well going to pit road then.
Yeah, and I can see Jeff Fickling and the Carlin Racing crew clearing out because unfortunately for them, they've got 2 battered race cars making their way down to pit lane in front of our pit reporters, Rob Howden. Ed Jones going to slide to a stop in front of you.
Yeah, it's front and rear wing damage to the number 11 of Ed Jones, looking to replace the front wing. They're looking at the 11 right now. There's also an issue. So a new front wing goes on the car. The rear wing, Nick, is actually barely hanging on. A little issue under the car as well. Man, a lot of damage to this race car. Not surprising, front and rear damage, and in comes Sorales as well, the number 4, just the front wing damage for him.
What a tough break for a pair of teammates in the championship hunt, too. Ed Jones is the points leader coming into this weekend, and boy, Rob Howden, we got some angry drivers down there on pit lane.
Well, I'll tell you right now, Nick, they've actually shut off the car of Ed Jones, the point leader. They've shut it off because they got to go to work on the rear wing here if they're going to try to put a new one on. It's totally damaged. The diffuser damaged as well. One of the top lips of the rear diffuser on the left side, that's damaged as well. So a full rear wing change for Ed Jones. That car is stopped. Of course, Felix Sorales stopped up here as well. They're just going to put a new front wing on the number 4 of Sorales, I believe. But at this point, no, Sorales actually out of the car, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for Felix Sorales today.
And Scott Hargrove, based on body language, Felix Sorales a little hot down there on pit lane.
Yeah, it's interesting. Felix looked like he's pretty upset, and I think that's interesting because Felix looked like he got in the back of Jones, so I'm not sure why he's the one that's upset. But I mean, Jones being the points leader, those guys have got to try to get that car back out there.
So some right front push rod damage being reported by Rob Howden on Sorales' car. So both of those gentlemen out of the race car. Again, I mentioned it was a 3-car accident because Andre Negrao also got clipped there at the exit of turn number 6. But certainly he's going to try to continue on because he's got a second place, possible second place finish right now. Again, that accident happened at the top of the hill in turn number 6. And Scott, even before the accident happened, Ed Jones threw quite a block moving Dean Stoneman all the way over into the grass.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what Tony Cottman's got to say about that. I'm sure they had that meeting about being respectful, and it looked like Stoneman was definitely had the momentum and on the inside.
All right, let's hear from Felix Sorales. He's with Rob Howden.
Felix, these restarts obviously very exciting. Always an opportunity to get a couple of spots. And I know the guys in front of you stacked it up in turn 5. Stoneman and Jones were blocking each other coming up the hill. What are your thoughts on what happened when you guys crested the hill in turn 6?
You know, I'm always very honest and no bullcrap type of guy, and that was totally Ed's fault at first, and then Stoneman just brake checked him coming out of the turn 6. So, you know, it's both their faults. You know, I'm just unfortunate. We had the pace. I was really comfortable, and I'm just really angry at both those drivers.
You get a chance to do it again in a couple of weeks at Iowa. Good luck there.
Thank you.
Tough one for Felix Sorales, folks. Obviously disappointed with what happened there on the racetrack. Again, we had that drivers meeting this morning. We'll see what the results are of that, because I know that these drivers have been having a fantastic season. It's been really exciting Indy Lights racing, but it's getting aggressive as we get to the midway to the point of the season, Nick, as we start thinking about that championship.
That is going to make for some interesting team meetings. Halfway point in the books. Back to green flag racing as they race up on the hill for an ever-drying racetrack. And Michael Young, they're not done slugging it out. Here comes Andre Negrau.
Negrau to the outside of Stoneman, able to make the move. Now the move to the inside. That's Santi Urrutia goes to the point. Santi Urrutia nearly making contact with Negrau. What a move by Santi Urrutia as he goes to the lead here at Road America.
And Dean Stoneman's got some massive problems as he is way off the pace. So now the front three, the top three in points, all with issues with Sorales and Jones on pit lane, and now Jones slowing on the backstretch. Santi Urrutia, your leader, but Mark Janes, Zach Veach has something to say about that second place position.
Negrau, Urrutia, Veach, they all come this way. Zach goes to the high side. Now he'll work to the bottom side of the 17 car of Negrau. We're hearing from pit road. Dave first. Problem for Dean Stoneman could be what?
Yeah, Dean Stoneman with the flat tire. So here we go, top three, big issues here. Race number 2 in Road America.
Boy, they are, Scott Hargrove sliding all over the place. Veach just about lost it. Kaiser just about lost a position to his teammate.
Yeah, it's entertaining to watch. Zach this seems to be a trend with him this weekend. You know, he's obviously had a really good recovery from that spin earlier, running in the 3rd position and challenging for 2nd. So let's see, and you never know, the repeat might still be doable.
Field making their way through the carousel. It is Santi Urrutia. He started on the outside of the front row, lost a handful of positions early on, and now finds himself in the lead after going from 3rd to 1st on this restart. They'll make their way down Kettle Bottoms. It's, again, Urrutia, your leader, Andre Negrau. He's poised for a career best, and he can hold on in 2nd, and Zach Veach starting to rebound to 3rd. I'll tell you what, Jake Query, as the field makes their way after this restart in front of you, also tipping the cap to that driver in the 4th place position, Shelby Blackstock, picking up the pieces of what everybody else is left to have a nice day.
Urrutia starts to get himself a little bit of breathing room now. Negrau about 5 car lengths back. Beach is right there, and then as you mentioned, it's Blackstock. Kaiser, oh, he got loose. Kaiser allows Clayman DeMello to get past him. Now they're going to go side by side as Grist makes the move as well. He gets past Kyle Kaiser. Big hiccup out of turn number 14.
Kaiser sliding all over the place on this last lap, Michael Young, as they head to turn number 1.
Yeah, they're starting to search for that wet racing surface now, Nick Yo. We saw the leader, Negrau, also Zach Veach. They all duck to the inside as they come down this main straightaway. We're not seeing those rooster tails anymore. The drivers in the front, those first 3 that I just spoke about, went right down to the pit wall to try to find a little water to keep these Cooper tires cool.
Dean Stoneman will now limp his way back to pit lane with a flat tire. Rob Howden is down there on pit lane as well with more.
Yeah, Nick, they're trying to get this car of Ed Jones back on the racetrack. Now down 1 lap. They had to replace the wing, and of course the wing held on with a tether as well to make sure the wing comes off and doesn't go into any of the drivers. Well, they refired the car of Ed Jones, but they had not yet put the tether back on to make sure the wing doesn't go anywhere. The Indy Lights official said, no, you're going nowhere. They shut the engine back down. Now the crew working feverishly to get that tether back on so this car is legal and ready to get back onto the racetrack.
Slow crawl for Dean Stoneman. Scott Hargrove, he's had a great season so far right there in the championship hunt. And boy, to see those 2 Carlin teammates take each other out, he had to be assuming that this is going to be a big point set. This has got to be just demoralizing, and as he pulls to a stop in pit lane.
Oh, that's got to be hugely, massively frustrating. It looks like they're going to go on to slicks. So if they can get these slick tires on before losing a lap and getting yellow, you never know. He might still be back in it. But of course, no fault of his own with the flat tire. That's just bad luck.
Yeah, the bad news is the leaders are charging. They're going to be crossing the start-finish line. Actually, I see Urrutia right now making his way. Jake Query out of turn number 12. Urrutia followed by Negrau and Veach. Front 3 appears like they've separated themselves pretty nicely. Jake, the battle is on for 4th, though, as Shelby Blackstock trying to hold off Clayman DeMello and Grist.
Blackstock comes into view just now. Grist almost looks like he's one car length back. That's because Clayman DeMello, who got loose, moving in on Blackstock, and that caused Grist to go into the sand trap. So I'll tell you what, they came in at turn 14. They looked like a one-car piece coming in, and it turned out to be just two as Grist got hung out to dry on that one.
Boy, we got to see that coming right at us, Scott Marco. 3 cars all kind of battle for the same spot. Tough break from here, Chris.
Yeah, it is, and of course that's the car I was driving earlier this year, and it looks like just a little bit of front wing damage. Everybody's stacked up, and it's so difficult, especially with these conditions. You're trying to find a way around, and then when there's 2 cars going side by side ahead of you, he just ran out of the road there.
Tire change has been in effect for Dean Stoneman. He pulled back out right on the front of the racetrack for that battle for 4th. Shelby Blackstock, Zachary Clayman DeMello, they were able to clear him. Now Kyle Kaiser, Mark Janes, he'll move to the inside of that lap car.
And Kyle Kaiser working on Dean Stoneman now. Stoneman trying to find a place to run as he works his way off of turn number 5. It's interesting to note, Nick, that when they come off of that turn, that turn 4 complex, we can still see a lot of rooster tails as they make their way under that Sargento bridge. They disappear as they start that descent down toward turn number 5. The track continues to dry, going back up toward the Corvette bridge. There is plenty of water to the high side upon exit of turn number 5, but Nick, in addition to that, we're seeing some hints of some breaks in the cloud with a little bit of sunshine. The last 5 laps could be very, very interesting.
Yeah, Rob Houghton, you just told me that the sun's starting to come out. How about the repairs, though, for our points leaders car?
Yeah, Ed Jones back out onto the racetrack. The sun is coming out here on pit lane. The temperature has gone up quite a bit since we started this event. Ed Jones electing to go back out on slick tires as well, so both he and Stoneman rolling the dice here. That's all they can do, being a lap down and being the primary championship contenders. If anything plays their way, they may be fine, but at this point, both those drivers out on slick tires.
Santi Urrutia is your leader with 9 to go here at Road America. Andre Negrao runs 2nd. Zach Beach is 3rd. Front 3 separated by just 4 seconds. The lead, Michael Young, for Santi Urrutia is a healthy one, but again, those rooster tails that we've seen for the first half of the race starting to disappear a bit as they make their way to turn number 1.
Yeah, indeed, and each time they come by, they keep going down by the 5th wall to try to find some of that moisture to keep those tires cool. Urrutia about an 8-car length advantage over Andre Negrao. Then it's Zach Beach in 3rd. From Negrao to Beach, about 18 car lengths. Then it's a bit of a ways back to Shelby Blackstock, who's gapped himself from Zachary Clayman DeMello. Then it's the lapped car of Stoneman, Kaiser in there, French, and the Juan Pedrahita number 2.
Scott, talk about driving those rain tires on a dry racetrack. How big of a challenge is that, and how ultimately dangerous can that be the further they go?
Well, you can see they're definitely looking for some water on the track to cool down the tires, especially when you get in the corners. In a dry corner with rain tires, that tread starts moving around and it starts to ball up and tear itself off the tire. So eventually there's going to be nothing left, and I imagine by the end of this race, if you look at those tires, they're going to be almost slicks. But of course, it doesn't quite work as well as a slick tire, and they'll just be way overheated and just complete lack of grip.
What is more important at this point of the race, finding that moisture on the racetrack or making sure that you're still hitting the apexes? Because the way we see these guys sliding all over the place looking for that moisture, they can't be turning very fast laps.
No, but you definitely want to be hitting your apexes still. In the corners, you pretty much look for the optimal line. But it's on the straight sections where you don't lose any time by just searching for puddles, anything you can find to cool down the tire.
Santi Urrutia is your leader with 8 to go here at Road America. Andre Negrao runs 2nd. Zach Beach is 3rd. Another update from pit lane from Rob Houghton.
Yeah, Nick, I'm sure Scott can talk about this, but kind of the unwritten rule among race engineers is you're trying to get within 115% of the pole time. That's when the track is going to be good to go to slick tires. Obviously, at this point here, the driver's still running 213s. They need to get down to 208s for the track really to be good for slick tires. That's kind of the unwritten rule, about 115% of the pole time.
So the leaders making their way through turn number 14. Boy, Zach Beach sliding all over the place. Jake Query, Dean Stoneman's a lap down, but you can tell on those slick tires, he's a lot faster than everybody else.
Yep, just made quick work of Shelby Blackstock to get that lap back. To your point about Zach Beach coming out of 14, Kaiser now going to do the same. Very, very slick. It looks as they go out of my view, it's almost as if watching a dog trying to walk on ice. That's what it looks like for those that are still on those rain tires that are starting to go away.
The only issue with that, Scott Hargrove, I love that analogy because it does look like a dog on ice sliding all over the place. Dog on ice usually isn't going 120, 130 miles per hour.
No, it's not. I quite a keen driving slick tires in the rain to, you know, being on an ice rink. There is just no grip until you build a little bit of heat, and then even still, if you just go a little bit offline, you lose all that grip and you're back on the ice. But interesting, like Rob was saying, it looks like Stoneman just did a 107, or sorry, no, 209. So that's right on the cusp of what he was saying is slick time. So it looks like there's a big jump with the rain tires falling off on this drying track, and I'm sure that's what's actually causing the lap time loss rather than being wet.
The only thing is, though, with 7 laps to go, it really doesn't benefit any of these teams to come in and change, correct?
Yeah, I would say not, unless the only thing is if a yellow came out right now, it'd be a tough decision because I think it's a lot quicker at the moment.
So Santi Urrutia is your leader. He stretched that lead out to 2.1 seconds. Here's a full field rundown. Urrutia in car 55, that Soul Red Mazda for Schmidt-Peterson. He is your leader by 2.1 seconds over Andre Negrau, his teammate actually for Schmidt-Peterson. That organization downsized from 4 cars to 2 this weekend, and so far it's looking like it could result in the top 2 steps on the podium. Zach Beach, yesterday's winner, runs in 3rd. He's got his hands full right now with the faster car of that lap-down machine of Dean Stoneman. Beach will pull to the outside and let Stoneman go as Beach bounces over the curbing. He runs 3rd. Shelby Blackstock is 4th. Zachary Clayman DeMello runs in the 5th position. Kyle Kaiser runs 6th. The rookie James French is up to 7th. Juan Pedro Hita is 8th. Neil Alberico is 9th. Garrett Grist, Team Pelfrey crew, affected the front wing change, got him back out on the racetrack to stay on the lead lap. He is quite a way behind, though, in 10th position. Dean Stoneman's turning the fastest laps of the race right now. Fastest car on the racetrack with those slick tires. He is still, though, a lap down in 11th. Dalton Kellett had issues into the sand trap. He's 2 laps down in 12th. Ed Jones' team, they have made repairs to his machine. He's back on the racetrack, but is in 13th position. And then Felix Sorrellis, done for the day, parked on pit lane, and he will finish in the 14th position. Rob Houghton, Santi Urrutia's lead has grown to 4.2 seconds.
Yeah, Nick, there is some concern down here depending on what who you talk to. Obviously, the drivers on slick tires right now anywhere between 5 to 6 to 7 seconds faster each lap here. Now, there's only 4 laps remaining in this race, but should a yellow come out after Stoneman gets around Urrutia, we may find ourselves with a completely different storyline. As I said, he's rolling up, already got past Andre Negrau. The next up for Stoneman would be Urrutia if he gets by, and we go then to yellow, and we're able to go back to green. You may find Stoneman somehow finding a victory here today.
Scott Hargrove, in the short time that I've watched Santi Urrutia, I've noticed he doesn't really give an inch to everybody. Very aggressive driver. Does a nice job, though, and I would assume if you're the leader, you want your team telling you that that driver that's about to pass you is a lap down.
Yeah, he would have known that was not for racing position, but look at the speed of Stoneman. Those tires are so much better than the rain tires at the moment. And now he just got himself back on the lead lap. So let's see what happens here in the last bit of the race and see if anybody with these slick tires, if anybody can have the slick tire come charge through the field.
Yeah, that scenario that Rob Houghton just introduced to us. If we get a full course caution, if someone makes a mistake, Dean Stoneman's going to have to pass a lot of cars, 10 of them to be exact. But boy, he has an absolute rocket ship on those slick tires. Dave, first, you're keeping an eye on our leader, Santi Urrutia, here with 6 to go, and you've got someone who's probably watching a little bit closer than all of us.
No doubt about that. Aliseo Salazar spent some 8 years in the IndyCar series, does some consulting work, some coaching work for Santi Urrutia. Funny how it all works out. You look up, now you're leading the race.
I know, Dave. We started the front row. We fell back a bit, but I guess it was good because, you know, the guys at the front were dicing too hard. And now we're leading, but our tires will be done. That's the understatement of life, you know, at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, what is he saying right now inside the car? Because I'm sure he's sliding around. He'd love to come in for some slicks, but it's not going to happen, is it?
Yeah, at the moment, you know, Stoneman and Jones are about 5-6 seconds quicker, but they are lap down. So we're just telling him to cool down, try to cool the tires as much as he can, you know, find any wet patches around the track. So we're just hoping, you know, that it will work at the end.
How do you calm a driver down, especially when he sees another driver passing him, and he's still a lap down, essentially, but it's at, you know, for Santi, it's all about completing this race, getting a W here.
Yeah, it's hard because, you know, coming from a guy that is not too calm, you know, being me, it's not easy.
Really? You noticed that, huh?
Yeah, but, well, he already let him by, and we're looking good for the championship with this situation because we will be, just behind Stoneman and Jones. But as you know, Dave, until the checkered flag drops, we cannot say anything.
How big would this be? I mean, he's struggled the last couple of outings. You go back to his win. That happened at Barber Motorsports Park down in Leeds, Alabama. It's been a while. He would really love to get back on the podium here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be as big as this country, Uruguay. Everybody's rooting for him, they're live on now watching, and it will be big, So we know this sport is, it's pretty difficult at the time, but hopefully this time will give us some back.
We'll be watching. I'm going to calm you down too the last 5 laps, okay?
I'm definitely more nervous here than out there.
All right, to catch up. Eliseo Salazar, 8 years in the IndyCar Series, won Las Vegas back in 1997. Well, he would love to see Santi Urrutia top that podium here today.
Yeah, Urrutia making his way through turn number 14. Mark Janes, you called a lot of IndyCar races in your day, and I know that you were there in Vegas when Eliseo Salazar won, correct?
Chilean television followed the exploits of one Eliseo Salazar, and I'll never forget the euphoria that they felt as a country. I mean, Eliseo very popular in his home country for sure, and it was a huge win for him. It was as exciting of an event and as excited as I have ever seen a driver, quite frankly. And, that's the one thing, one of the many things that is so positive about the Mazda Road to Indy. It's great to see the former drivers like Sam Schmidt and Michael Andretti and now guys like Eliseo Salazar. And although he never drove in the IndyCar Series, the role that Anders Krohn continues to play in driver development, it's just great to see that presence in the back. And the 55 machine of Santi Urrutia, it's been a great day for him. He is babying that thing through turn number 5, and he is well on his way. Keep your fingers crossed. It should be an uneventful ride to victory lane.
Yeah, about 3.5 laps to go, and Scott Hargrove, we've had a chance with our multi-screen monitor to focus in on Santi Urrutia here over the last couple laps. That lead has now grown to 6.1 seconds over Andre Negrão. I know it can't be comfortable with those rain tires, but he appears to be doing just a tremendous job nursing it.
Yeah, he's not sliding the car. He's being very careful with the tires. Definitely trying just to keep it under him and not push too hard, because that's when the time will start to fall off. So he's looking smooth. I'm trying to look at those tires pretty closely. I think right in the middle of the tire, it's getting pretty thin. It's almost looking like a slick at this point.
Gonna have to hold on for a little over 3 laps here at Road America. Santi Urrutia came into this race 5th in points, 46 points behind Ed Jones, and with problems for Jones, Stoneman, and Sorales, this could end up being a very big day. The only other driver that I didn't mention in the top 5 in points, that's Kyle Fletcher. He sits 4th and runs in the 6th position. Jake Query, leader making his way in front of you in turn 14, and nobody even in sight behind him.
Here's what's interesting about turn 14, this long right-handed sweep. You can actually hear that nearly everybody backs off as they're at the apex of the turn, because they did just kind of slide their way through. Almost looks like a drifter exhibition. Front 3 have already done exactly that. Now Shelby Blackstock comes into view with Clayman DeMello just behind him. You can definitely tell Stoneman, for example, on those tires where he's more comfortable, the slicks, and he's got a lot more grip. Problem is he's just going to flat run out of laps in order to try to make up. I'm not so certain somebody may not have it off here in the last 2 circuits of this race, but Nick, I think everybody's figured out how to gingerly get their way through on those tires.
Rob Houghton, you're down there on pit lane. Again, I don't think, barring a caution, it's going to work out for Dean Stoneman, but pretty impressive when they put those slick tires, just how fast those laps he's been turning here in the closing portions of this race.
We've seen that happen before, and actually had to go back a couple of years to USF 2000 when Will Owen did the same thing. They came in early when the track started to dry. He threw the slick Cooper tires on, and Will Owen was able to win at the Grand Prix of Indianapolis. Absolutely decimated the field because everyone else, of course, stuck on the treaded wet tires. And again, same situation here. When you're up front, even though you may think pitting for those slick tires might be a good idea, knowing how much faster you're going to be, you just can't give up track position. You got to stay out front. Luckily, if a yellow flag would have came out, it would have played obviously to the hand of Dean Stoneman and Ed Jones, those drivers who were able to go to the slicks. But this time, though, he's going to run out of time. It is going to be a good run here to the end for Santi Urrutia, and really he is being challenged. I'm sure Scott Hargrove can tell you it cannot be easy to drive these tires on a dry track.
Santi Urrutia with a 6.1 advantage over Andre Negrão. It is almost a full 9 seconds back to Zach Beach. 4th, 5th, and 6th are all separated by 5 seconds. That's probably the best battle on the racetrack right now, is this disjointed race with the weather and the accidents has really thrown a curveball and a lot of guys' chances to win. Shelby Blackstock runs 4th, Zachary Clayman DeMello is 5th, Kyle Kaiser is 6th. Leader Santi Urrutia back out of the front straightaway. He's going to see 2 laps to go as he crosses the start-finish line. Further back, though, Scott, as we watch that battle again, this is Shelby Blackstock. Jake Query, he actually just lost the 4th position to Zachary Clayman DeMello.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Blackstock, as he now tries to work his way back in on Clayman DeMello, has about a 5 or 6 car length advantage now to make up, I should say, so disadvantage. But he's got Kyle Kaiser working on it. Problem is Kaiser, along with Garrett Grist, who's behind him, they have that same problem, and that is just slipping and sliding their way out of turn 14.
It's a very tricky, massive race course, 4 miles in length, 14 turns. Santi Urrutia, Mark Janes down the hill, a lap and a half away for victory.
You know, leaders have their issues, obviously, at the top of the hill some 10 to 12 laps ago. Got to give a tip of the cap, though, to the rest of this field and how they've handled the challenge of these conditions. But, Nick, as much as anything, how about a tip of the cap to the folks from Cooper Tires and the treads that they have provided for these drivers this weekend? Those tires are not designed, I don't think, to put up with the pounding that they're getting now. I mean, ideally, you would like to have an opportunity to come on and put on the slicks, but boy, you got to give them a lot of credit. Everybody on the design team at Cooper Tire for the tread that they put together, especially that wet, because these drivers have abused those things here today.
Scott, whether it be the Mazda engines or the Cooper tires, a couple good partners for the Indy Light Series to be hooked up with.
They're phenomenal, and you know, it wouldn't be possible to come up the race as a young car without support like Cooper and Mazda. You look at these guys out here now with those slick or with those treaded rain tires. It's starting to, you see the cars moving around a lot, and a lot of that is the tread blocks are actually leaning over, and just there is nothing left. While it's not an ideal situation to be out there on a rain tire in the dry conditions, the fact that the car is still drivable and the tires are holding up is a great sign.
Here comes Santi Urrutia out of turn number 14, back up onto the front straightaway. He's going to see the white flag. 1 more lap to go. Michael Young, the lead is nearly 8 seconds as Santi Urrutia makes his way around this Road America course for the final time.
It has been the last 4 laps, really kept an eye on Santi Urrutia. So smooth through this turn number 1 complex as he makes his way through for the final time. It's been a feast or famine season for this young man from Montevideo, Uruguay. 3 podiums, including that win, the second race at Barber Motorsports Park. But today, that aggression has put him out front, and indeed, he will come home with the victory if he can keep those Cooper tires under him for about 10 more turns.
Full 8 seconds, Mark Janes, as that driver makes his way down the hill to turn number 5 in that Soul Red Mazda for the final time.
Literally all by his lonesome. And Nick, before we get out of here again, many thanks to the great folks at Mazda. They provided us a great vantage point here high atop their hospitality area in turn number 5. You'll be out here for the Verizon IndyCar Series race a little bit later on today. Been fun to watch the maturation of this talented young driver, the pilot of the 55, Santi Urrutia.
Gone to victory lane already once this season, looking for that second win of the season. Santi Urrutia makes his way through turn number 8 underneath the Johnsonville Bridge and will set up for the very tricky carousel. Further back again, we've been watching Dean Stoneman continues to pick his way through the field, but all eyes are on our leader, Santi Urrutia, with about an 8-second lead, making his his way down the hill, looking to go to turn number 12 and pick up his second win of the season. This may very well put him right back in the points championship, as it does not appear, barring a mistake on this final lap, that he will be challenged by Andre Negrão or Zach Beach. Urrutia hard on the brakes through the right-hander of turn number 12. That is Canada corner with trees on either side. He'll come into the view of Jake Query for the final couple corners.
Second place, Andre Negrão celebrated his 24th birthday just over a week ago. Santa Urrutia will not turn 20 for 2 more months, but he's working his way, on his way to a victory at Road America. Help bring him home, Nick.
Twin checkered flags are out here at Road America. Santi Urrutia will win race number 2 here in the Kohler Grand Prix weekend at Road America, as he picks up a dominating victory